Here we go. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to today's undeniable session with Get Her Hired. It's so good to be back talking with you all and taking your questions today. And for today, it's going to be everything about AI in your job search. So something that is just going on all the time is that people talk about how to use AI in the job search. There's so much noise out there that makes it seem like it's a really simple thing to do. And while a lot of the tools can be very easy to use, I find that, the use of the tool is easy. However, why do you use it? When do you use it? And where do you use it? Are actually more important than how the tool works. So if you've ever felt like, people talk about AI all the time, but I just don't know the value of it, or I've tried it and it's just not worked for me. Sometimes this can happen because again, like, it's how it's used, when it's used, why it's used. And sometimes it's a simple tool. So we're going to talk about a lot of these things today, and answer all your questions. And I just want to make sure that I'm gonna just send a note here um, in the chat. So if you have questions, you can send them in the chat. You can send them into the Q&A function that we have in the webinar as well. And I want you to consider this as we go through this. Sometimes what works best is if we actively work on someone's materials. So, like, if someone out there might be willing to be live and non-anonymous in us looking at your materials, I'd love to be able to experiment and play with you, showing you exactly how I would use it in your situation. So think about, everyone now is anonymous, but if you were interested, send a note to the hosts to let them know that you might be interested in letting us make you unanonymous. So sharing your name, sharing your information, so that we can try out some of the tools we'll have today. Because I find that is really helpful. Instead of just talking about it, like, let's actually look at it. So I'm going to launch a question here. I wanted to understand, for those here in the audience today, when you hear use AI in your job search, what is your first reaction? Okay, some people are like, yep, show me how. Some people are curious. Some people are like, how does it work? How can I do it? Luckily, no one is saying is that allowed. And the reason why I say that is because some people, and thank you everyone for taking that and doing that question. I think, let me see if I can show you the results, if you can see that. I think you can see that. But we've got pretty much, people are curious, they're interested, but they're just not sure how it works. They want to have more skills in how to do that. So wonderful. The reason why I'm glad that no one said, wait, is that allowed? Is because we are living in 2026. And I don't know who's on this call, okay, because we're anonymous, but you can see that I have a little bit of white hair here. I, grew up before cell phones. I grew up really before personal computers were a thing. And as technology progresses, absolutely, let's use it to our advantage. And there are absolutely ways we should be using it. We use it all the time at Get Her Hired with some of our research, our frameworks. It's just a matter of how is it being used? And absolutely, I'm glad most people are open to using it. So my next question I've got for you guys. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go back. What am I doing? Stop sharing. Okay. Sorry about that. That stayed on the screen way too long. I'm sorry, you guys. My next question for you all is, if AI could help you with one task, which would you choose? Helping you customize your resume, drafting network messages, helping with interviews, helping find hidden job opportunities. Okay, so we're getting some answers here. Looks like people are most interested in customizing, and I'll show you how we'll do that. Let me make a note here. Customizing the resume. Okay, and then finding hidden job opportunities. So share that. Okay. I'm just actually look at this. I'm old school writing it down so that I can keep my notes going on you guys. Um, so uh, this is what most of you are saying here, which is that you'd like it to help you with your job search and then find or your resume and then find hidden job opportunities. Now, one of the things that I have found is really fun to do is using AI for your job search. And I'll talk about that, finding those hidden opportunities. And mostly it's about using the right tool at the right time. So all of the tools that we're using right now for job search, if you think about LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, these types of services are aggregates that most of the time people have to pay to use. And so when you're looking at for jobs there, just know that a lot of the time the job is only posted and listed because the company has paid to have it listed. And sometimes paying for a job listing on LinkedIn is going to cost more than the company is able to do, especially if you're someone who's interested in a smaller company, a startup company, or maybe even a nonprofit company. They may not be investing in putting their jobs on to a place like LinkedIn or Glassdoor or Indeed because it costs them money. So we'll talk about the tools we can use for that. And then for customizing your resume, absolutely. I think that's a really good question and a really good thing to do. What we like to do at Get Her Hired, and when we're working with our clients directly and doing the writing for everyone, our approach is to get a directionally solid resume document together that is really about where the client is headed. It's not going to be this backward looking obituary of a job like you've been responsible for across your career. It's really positioned and oriented toward that future role. And as long as you're super clear on the type of function you want to do, by function, I mean, are you going to be in sales? Are you going to be in logistics? Are you going to be in chief executive roles? Are you going to be in marketing? Are you going to be in engineering? Right? So, what functional type of role? Second question. So here are the three biggies for me is function you're going to be working in, if you want to be a leader or an individual contributor. Okay, so because if you want to lead teams and lead a budget or be responsible for a P&L, your documents have to look a little different. We're going to emphasize some different skills, right? Than if you want to be on a team contributing to a leader's P&L, for example. So functional role, and then do you want to be a leader or an individual contributor? And then the third thing is your industry focus. So do you want to be in SaaS, software as a service? Do you want to be in retail? Do you want to be in manufacturing? Do you want to be in aerospace, right? So there's all sorts of industries. And once you know what you want in those three areas, you should be able to craft a really solid base document. And from there, you can use AI to modify it. However, if you don't have a solid base document and you're using AI to modify every resume, good luck. It's just going to be a mess, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. If you've got questions on anything I'm talking about right now, Lourdes, can you put a note in the chat to everyone to remind them that they can put There are questions in the chat. And, as we go along, if you've got questions on anything I'm talking about, please, in the moment, ask a question. That's the best time to do it. So don't worry about interrupting me. All right. This is for you. This is for you. I want to answer your questions. All right. So I've got a poll question here. What's your relationship status with AI right now? Is it like your career assistant? Maybe you've used it a few times. You're intimidated by it. What might be your current relationship status? Is it like a situationship where you're not sure? Were you committed? Okay. It looks like most people have tried it. They can see the potential, but maybe need a little more direction on it. And there's at least one person who's like, yep, I'm dialed in. It's basically my assistant. And you're probably here today because you want to up level and do even more with it. So I love that. That's fantastic. And then one final question for you. What is most draining for you? What takes your energy away the most? Is it, like I was mentioning earlier, tailoring that resume a million times, the cover letter, interviews, scrolling through endless job listings, or all of the above? So that's a really good way for us to just see, like, what are the things that are really bugging us. And it's interesting. Essentially what I'm seeing is, yeah, okay, so basically all of the above for everybody is what I'm seeing. It can be really draining. So we can use these tools to help make this less draining. And we're going to get into that now. I think one of the greatest ways to do this, that I really like, is interview preparation. And so we'll definitely include that today. That's a really fun way to use AI tools. Okay. So let me just check if we got any questions. We had a question come in. If you have any thoughts about ATS, we got a question that says, do you have any thoughts about ATS and its use of AI to screen out younger candidates and older candidates? I watched another webinar that said that ATS algorithms were targeting 30 to 35-year-olds. Of course, it's like we're the right age for 1 minute and then we're the wrong age again, right? Like, give me a break. I'm older than that and have gotten ATS generated rejections on everything I've applied for. First of all, I'm sorry. If you're not, there's two things I would say that are happening when we're not getting the interviews. If you're getting these auto rejections, to me, that's a sign, yes, your resume is not working. So I'll talk about that in a moment. And then second, I want to just share that you may be limiting your ability to find the right kinds of opportunities if you're only applying through Quick Apply or through some of the application services that are publicly out there that are kind of, generically used by thousands of people at any given moment. You're probably competing with 1,000 very similar resumes, especially if you've used AI to generate your entire document. Okay. So if you're not getting interviews, yes, your resume is the problem. That's your job. The job of the resume is to open the door for an interview. Okay. So yes, it's a problem. Book a free resume review with me, whoever that person is. I'll look at your resume with you and I'll share my insights on what's going on there. Everyone's welcome to do that, of course, but the person who shared that note, absolutely, please book a resume review. Now, the use of ATS to screen out older and younger candidates. Technically, that's illegal, but we know how flexible ethics and legality are in the United States right now. And so, yeah, of course, people are going to have conscious and unconscious bias about age. However, the ATSs are probably not doing that. That is not something that would be a normal behavior of a recruiter or a system. And so I would imagine that the age is not a problem. It's probably something else if it's this auto rejection. So you can put that aside as it being the problem. What I would think about with an ATS. And so for those of you not familiar, I'm sure you've got to all be familiar with applicant tracking systems. It's basically, right, like I think of it this way. Well, do I think of it this way? I'm trying to come up with a new, fresh analogy on this. Have you ever used, okay, you can shop online, right? And then they say you can scan an image of your credit card and it will enter the numbers for you after scanning it, right? So this is a visual AI tool that scans the numbers on your credit card and then adds it into something you're trying to buy to ostensibly make this easier for you to buy, right? But I've tried that before and it won't work. It gets it wrong, right? Because it's trying to scan it into its system so it can eat the data correctly in the way that it wants to eat the data. All right. There's all sorts of things that can go wrong with this. So I'm sure you've encountered areas where something's been scanned, or you scanned a QR code, or you tried something, or you took an image of something, and it didn't quite translate correctly. That is because we can't control for the settings and sensitivity on the other device's end. So when a company puts out a job requisition, they're going to set certain sensitivity levels. So if you think of it this way, um, what percentage of keywords need to match? That always varies. We cannot account for the sensitivity that a company's bot has been set to for the amount of keywords. And so I generally disregard ATS. I mean, we take it into account, of course, in our writing to make sure that when we're writing something, when we are advising someone, when we're showing someone a template or a prompt, we know we're doing it in a way that ATS is going to be able to eat the data and read it. Okay. That's what we do when we talk about ATS. It's going to be able to read and consume your data. Now, as to the sensitivity of keywords, this is a market that I call BS on because you can do everything over and over again, right? Like you can upload the job to who here has used JobScan? I don't know if you've used JobScan or some of those tools before to see, hey, how does my resume match the description for this job? And it tells you it's only 60%. And then you like spend money and time like trying to get it to, I don't know, some impossible 100%. And then guess what happens? It doesn't sound like you anymore. It looks like 99 other people's resumes because they have also tried to optimize their resume for 100% using JobScan, right? So, our take on this is get a solid document and then we're going to modify it, being smart about how we modify it. So, is ageism a problem? Yeah, because we live in the world we live in. It's normalized that we can uh, reduce the amount of respect we give to someone who's too young or too old or too dark or too light or whatever, that has too heavy an accent, right? Like that's just the way the world is, unfortunately. But your document can get in the way there sometimes. Yeah. All right. So let me get into some fun stuff. Has anyone thought about coming on here live, unanonymizing yourself, and letting us play with your current challenge? While you're getting ready to think about that and volunteer yourself for it, I'm going to go out and start sharing my screen here because I've got a few tools up that I thought we could talk about. Really simple first tool that I think everyone should just give this a try. Let me close some other windows I've got open here. Hang on one second. Just get this down to, should have done this before. I apologize. Ah, okay. All right. So this is headshotpro.com. I think if you don't have a good headshot, this is definitely a tool I think you can use. It costs about $30. It's not a lot, and you just send in a few selfies and then they generate some headshots for you. So if that's something that's been in the way or something you've been thinking about, give this a try. I am not compensated. I should probably ask them for an affiliate link, actually. But I've used it before. I think it's good. The technology's come a long way. And so if this is something you want, absolutely take a look at this. I'm going to go over to Google Gemini right now. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Gemini. The three chat different language models I like to use are ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. These are the three I use, and I use them for different reasons. And then I also use Perplexity. So I use that for a different purpose, though, so I can share with you a little bit about why I use that. Um, oh, let me send a note to this person let me see if I can just send it to them. Um, Okay. So, Lourdes, if you can get that person's LinkedIn information and and then we'll get that person ready to go do some work with that person in just a moment. So thank you for volunteering. I really appreciate that. This is going to be really useful for everyone, not just for you. Okay. So Perplexity is a tool that I use when I want to research some information. It's basically like Googling something, but it's going to give you just way more data. So, for example, I am curious to know what is happening in the big tech hiring environment in Q1 2026. I hear that jobs are being removed. What is my best? No, give give me data on this so I can understand the market. Okay. So what this is going to be doing, see if I can change my view because that is like really gigantic. Okay. All right. You can see some other things I put here. Give me 10 restaurants. So I basically use Perplexity like I do Google. And what it does and why I love it for this is it will aggregate data like Google does, but it also gives me a summary. Okay. And it then gives me links to the sources where I can read more detailed information and I can ask some further questions about this. And it even suggests some questions. So I want to know what are the roles being most affected? And I think actually this is an interesting question for us to look at, especially if anybody is in technology. Okay. So it looks like the roles that are mostly affected are non-core software engineers. So if you're on the core product, you're probably safe. Middle management, general business roles, and certain marketing ops and support functions. Okay. So it says directly related to AI or less directly tied to revenue or infrastructure. Okay, so this gives us a good idea of if you're in big tech, like let's say you're at Microsoft or IBM or uh, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. If you're in these HR types of roles in big tech, that's going to be a place where they might be automating more of the work. Okay, so even though the headline in the news might be that big tech is, reducing a bunch of jobs, find out more information and try Perplexity with it. Let me go back over to the chat. I want to see if our volunteer is ready. Are you ready, volunteer? Let me go over to her profile. I'm going to promote you to a panelist. So think you'll have to accept my promotion. And then we will see you as a panelist. Wonderful. Okay. So we'll just give this person a moment. Are you okay to go on camera, volunteer? If you are, you could turn on your camera. If you're not, that is okay. Um, and I'd love to ask you some questions. And so if
Okay,
you
I'm not going to
could,
turn my camera on.
that's all right. Can I share your name?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so this is Shelby. Shelby, have we met?
No,
No, not yet. Okay. Well, nice to meet you.
nice to meet you. I follow you on LinkedIn. That's about it.
Oh, wonderful. Tell me what's going on in your job search right now.
Um, I have just been very, very stuck. I've submitted many, many applications and no interviews, kind of like that last person said. Um, so I am just trying to find ways to maybe fix that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, okay. If you can give Lourdes your LinkedIn URL, that would be great because then we can get a little bit more background on what's going on for you. But verbally, tell me now, what kind of function are you in? Are you a leader? What industry?
Currently I'm a project management in construction. I have a background in healthcare and I'm just trying to get back into healthcare. I was a clinic manager for about 3.5 years, got my MBA,
Mm.
tried something new, and then yeah, I've just been looking to get back into more of the healthcare payer space.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. And you've got a project management background, so it sounds like you're making a pivot back into an industry you've been in. So the key
Yes.
things for, and thank you for sharing that, Shelby. The key
Yeah.
things when we're making a pivot, we have to allay the fears of anybody who's like, oh, she hasn't been in this industry for a minute. We should probably take someone with more current experience in the industry. And I'm sure that that's probably a reason why you might be getting filtered out. And so you have to make the pivot really clear in your documents. So I'm going to do something fun right now, if it's okay.
Yeah.
And let me go back. Where do I want to go? I'm going to go over here. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into ChatGPT and you all can do this as well. All right. This is something you can use these tools. I happen to have paid professional memberships for these tools, but a lot of the functionality is also available for free. Um, if you do pay for a membership to an AI platform or a subscription, you get the most up-to-date tech. I mean, that's the value in paying. Otherwise, you're getting a slightly older model if you use the free model, but it still gets updated as they upgrade the paid model. So don't worry about it. Shelby, have you used ChatGPT before?
That is exactly what I use all the
Okay,
time.
wonderful. Okay, great. So I like to use it for a question like this because I think the biggest thing I would want to solve for now is how do I best position my recent experience as a project manager in construction um, back to being in a field I was in previously, healthcare, because I want to bring my experience and my new MBA back to that industry to be in a clinic management or related type of role in the payer space. Now, you will see I'm writing a very specific question here. I am also not going to be asking it to just write me a resume. I want to use ChatGPT to help me think. Okay. And this is a get her hired. This is one of the main ways we use AI is to help us think critically, right? So instead of just asking it to write something, let's think critically about this. You've got an MBA, you know how to think critically, obviously, Shelby. So have you asked it a question like this before?
Yeah, I've worked very, very extensively with how I should frame things and
Mhm.
but I think part of my issue is I used it to write my whole resume. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Um, I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to add, I want to reduce the friction that a recruiter might have doubting my ability to pivot back. So let's just see what she tells us today. Sometimes she gives us helpful information. Sometimes it's, yeah, less helpful information. Um, okay, so now it's helping us think here. So why did she leave healthcare? Can she translate what she did? Um, so we're not trying to move away from recent experience. What we want to do is talk about the industry relevant foundation, your broader leadership, and your formal business training. So that's the emphasis in the positioning you should have in your materials, right? Do you have something like this as a story that you're using? So my career started in healthcare. I've recently been in project management, coordinating complex things because there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of risk happening in both those things, high accountability. So that is some of the positioning. Now, so this helps us see how we would reduce the friction. And at this point, then we might continue on with something like, because you were sharing, Shelby, that you've done many applications and you've gotten no interviews. So
yes.
let's ask it another question. I have applied many times and have gotten no interviews. What could I do differently in my search to help me land interviews? Now, we at Get Her Hired have a whole process around this, but we'll just see what ChatGPT says today. And you probably know this already, Shelby, but some days it says one thing. The next day it's updated its database and has more language and more information. And so it gives
Yep.
you a different answer the next day with a slightly different prompt, right? And so you may ask these same questions in your chat, Shelby, but because of your history and what it remembers about you in ChatGPT, you might get a different answer than I've just gotten right now, even if you put the same prompt in, right? So take every time you use chat, it's a little bit of a different experience. So some things it's saying is your target's too broad, your resume is not making it easy to understand, you're applying too far outside your roles, you're relying too heavily on online applications. My sense is 4 and 5 for you. How does that match what you sense as the problem?
I guarantee you 5 is probably true just because I've been keeping my resume vague. So obviously it's not super obvious. I'm job searching while working at another company. Um, and
Girl.
then
Yeah.
I have also I have been trying to reach out to recruiters. If the job posts who's the talent advisor is, I am trying to reach out to them on LinkedIn.
Wonderful.
Um,
Perfect.
and then yeah, so I am trying to do that. So I don't know if 4 is
So
technically,
maybe,
but
so maybe
kind of,
not
because
4. Okay.
maybe not
With
4, but maybe a little 4 too, because obviously
okay.
some jobs there's no person to reach out to. So
Yeah. Yeah. Then you got to go Agatha Christie on this or Sherlock Holmes on this. You got to find some people. I always say, do your search like you're trying to get your dog into the last spot over the Christmas break at the kennel, or do your search like you're trying to get your kid into that last summer camp spot in their specialty area that they're just dying to go to. Like, how much energy would you put into it? Put it into finding someone. Um, so what I also heard you share is your target might be too broad. And this is a really common problem Because if our target is too broad, a lot of people tell me, well, I'm open to lots of things. But the market doesn't reward generalization, it rewards specificity. And so if your resume is too broad or too vague, you're probably competing with 5,000 other people who have a similar resume to yours that's vague and not specific and based on your actual experience, your data, and your numbers. And so, if that's actually true for you, I think your first step is just making a commitment for the next 12 to 20 weeks of I want to be a clinic manager. That's it. And that's what I'm going to focus my documentation on. And I'm going to show accomplishments that relate to being a clinic manager. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to go over to Gemini for a moment. And Gemini is um, Google's AI tool. Top 10 competencies needed for that type of role. So let's just, for funsies, say this and base it on at least 3 different existing real job descriptions that are live today. Okay. So the reason why I put that, and you can see how I'm asking the question is very specific, and I want it to not just tell me in its language model what it thinks the competencies are. I want it to go and take a live snapshot of what's going on out in the market right now, not some BS based on some bro from 10 years ago. Okay. So it should be giving us, okay, so it gave us some job descriptions from Fresenius Medical, Alina, and Shriners. Okay. And so it looked like it came back with these 10. Now, everyone can do this. You don't have to use Gemini. I'm just showing you how it also works as a large language learning model. And you might, as you do this with Chat, Gemini, Claude, they're all large language learning models. So they're going to operate similarly, like with prompting. They'll just give you different types of information. And the way it comes to you might be delivered in a way you prefer. So you might try Gemini. But the prompt I gave it is critical. So I want you to see, base it on these live jobs. Give me the 10 top competencies. Shelby, have you done this in before as you've been writing?
No, I have not.
Okay. So the why behind this is because, again, like I said in the opening, we want to make sure that you get a solid base document that you can modify from. So you're not going to sound like 5,000 other people. You're going to sound like Shelby. All right. And so what
Okay.
we do is we prioritize looking at competencies for the roles. And here's how if we've got an HR specialist here on the call, you can tell us more. But how I look at competencies quite simply is a combination of skills and strengths. Skills being things that you functionally learned, that you've learned to do really well. Skills being things that you're naturally great at. And a competency brings both together that functional skill and something you're great at naturally. And so you've got this list of 10 here. And Shelby, if I get your email later, I'll send you this list so you can have it. All right. So revenue cycle, quality improvement, patient-centered care, operations and patient flow management is the first priority. Okay. And so knowing that your documents should be based around at least these top 5, demonstrating how you are really great at these 5 things. So let me ask Gemini, let's take the top 5. If I were going to write my resume and emphasize my skills and results in these 5 competencies, what kinds of questions can I ask myself about my background in those areas that will expose a unique data set about me and what I have done and what I am capable of doing in the future. And you'll notice I didn't spell check this because it's a language model. It can figure out and interpret. That's its job, is to figure out and interpret. So we don't have to spell check. Okay, so here are some questions. This is great. I'm going to send this to you, Shelby. If you've never tried this is a great way for you to start to get some more information. Who's a specific person you mentored who was struggling and what was their turnaround? When was the last time I looked at a line item in the budget and did something by working on it? So these questions are basically prompts, and you can go back in here and say, give me 5 more questions to ask myself, right? Do you think that could be helpful for you, Shelby?
Yeah, absolutely. Thinking a little more critically about it and not just being so copy and paste with AI, I think is definitely a great model.
Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So that I'll leave you with that, Shelby. Set up a resume review if you want, and I'll be happy to look at your resume. And talk to others. So I had a question here, and thank you, Shelby. So let me go back out to our. I'm going to remove you back to an attendee. Yay, Shelby, thank you. Um, and now I've got a question that came in. Why did I move over to Gemini? I simply moved over to it because I want you to know that there are more tools than ChatGPT. Not everyone is a fan of Sam Altman. Not everyone is a fan of OpenAI and their policies and the things that they do. And so Gemini is a Google product. It's an Alphabet product. You might be more familiar with it. There's also some different integration that you can do within Google, so it can go right to your Google folders, etc. So there's different capabilities. If you're using Gemini, it's synced up with other Google products, and so it's very nice in that manner. A lot of people are using Copilot today. That's the Microsoft related product. So you can do the same type of thing in Copilot if you're a Microsoft fan, in Gemini if you're more of a Google fan. I personally, for the work we do at Get Her Hired, mostly work in a professional version of ChatGPT. And the reason I do it is because it is the most sophisticated and updated model that I trust. So I actually trust it in how we use it, and I've learned how to navigate it really well. So it's a comfort zone for us with the different capabilities it has. All right. So that's the reason. That's the reason I moved over. Thank you for posting that link out there. If anyone wants to schedule a resume review, thank you, Lourdes, for doing that. And could you share that, Lourdes, to everyone rather than just the hosts, so that everyone can see that link? I'm going to go over to Claude for a moment. And I don't know if you're familiar with Claude, but this is one I enjoy to use. I'm going to take the example Shelby was sharing. And let's say I want to reach out to past coworkers or employers who I used to work with in healthcare. I have been out of the industry for a bit and want to pivot back. I have gotten my MBA and have been working in project management, in construction. I want to move back into clinic manager role in the payer space. Act as a networking advisor for me and coach me on how to approach my past coworkers and employers about starting up a conversation about moving back into the industry. So what I'm using Claude for, and you can use this type of prompt again with any tool, Gemini, ChatGPT, Copilot, etc. So and I asked it though to act as a networking advisor and coach me. Okay, so this is the part of the prompt that gets me to where I really want to be, which is, hey, be my advisor for a minute, coach me on how to think about this and how to do this. And so, what I really like about Claude and why I came over to Claude for this is I find that Claude is more conversational. It uses more NLP, which is natural language processing. And so it's based on just talking like in a way more human manner. Some of the AI tools out there, the chat tools, the language models are, let's say they're more like a telltale thing in AI produced content is that it's like nearly perfect. It's like it's too smooth, too elevated and sophisticated. It's just it you can smell it. I can smell it anyway. I can see it. I'm like that's just not natural language. And so I find Claude does a better job using natural language. And sometimes it's how my attitude is in a day. Like, do I need Claude? Do I need my AI assistant to help me just a little more gently today, in a more human manner? And so that's where I would use Claude AI. And so right away, it's telling me mindset first. So it's being very kind to me. It's telling me I'm just reconnecting and having a conversation. So what that's doing is, oh, Claude's telling me I can reduce the pressure on myself for this. Okay. We're just reconnecting and having a conversation. It gave me some ideas for how to approach these different groups. And then it gives me a little narrative. It gives me a little message framework. And then let's say I want to do this. I want to send notes on LinkedIn to let's see, let's pick one. Former managers. No, this will be more fun. Mentors and senior leaders. Give me a few examples of LinkedIn messages I could send to them to get and we're going to do reconnecting just to get this started. Okay. So now it's going to make some very natural language options for me. It's thinking, it's thinking, it's thinking. So you can see this one says, hey, notify me when it's done. So like all of these different tools, they have different capabilities. What I like about in Claude is you can see it's done different, different types of things. You have this copy and paste function right here. Okay, so I've just copied it to my clipboard. And I could just paste that in and then customize it. Or if I want the tone more advice seeking, direct, warm, and personal, depending upon your relationship with that mentor or senior leader that you had, Shelby, right? And so then it gives you a reason why to use it and a few more tips. Okay. So that's why I use Claude. Claude is also a great one for writing thank you notes. So when you are doing interviews and following up on, hey, thanks for taking a call with me and networking with me or giving me this advice. Claude, because it is a more natural language processing model, will write very nice notes that will take very little modification. Okay, so very little you have to do there. I'm coming back to the main screen here because I want to make sure one of the things you said earlier, everyone said earlier, is finding hidden job opportunities. So I definitely want to touch on that before we go, and I'll do that next. But you can see the basis that, the other questions we had was, how do I write my resume or my cover letter? How do I get ready for interviews? Those things, if you prompt it really well and really specifically, Chat, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, they're all going to work really well for that. Perplexity is going to be a great one to use. So first of all, let's go back to Perplexity for a moment. I want to talk about your job search. And by that, I mean, so let's do a new thread. Okay. I want to find the top 5 organizations that recruit for clinic manager roles in the United States. Give me a list. Okay. So Perplexity is going to go out there and find these different ones. It's going to aggregate it together, provide me with the sources. So these are large nationwide organizations that would hire. They would have, they would be incentivized to be finding people roles in these areas. Okay. Now give me 5 boutique firms that do this nationally. So those were big firms, right? Now I'm going to say boutique. And by boutique, I'm going to be being more specific into healthcare or clinic management. Okay. So it's giving us boutique recruiting. They've got a healthcare practice, Foster Crown. Okay. Now, Shelby, I don't know where you're located. I'm located in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So I'm going to say, now give me 5 specifically for the Minneapolis, St. Paul market. Okay. So because I'm not sure if you're here, but this would give you then some ones that maybe you wouldn't have seen before. Robert Half, if you're in Minnesota, you know Robert Half, but you may not know Amerigus, or you may not know Goodwin Recruiting. And so if you have not used a recruiter before, let me dissuade you of the notion that you're using a recruiter. First of all, I just want you to know that when you work with a recruiter, you're dead to them unless they have an open live requisition, because they are paid when they place someone. So it's not like they're there to find you a job. They're not. If they happen to have something that a company is looking for and you happen to be there, they'd love to make the introduction, because if you're the right fit, they get to make money. But if you're not the right fit, they don't make money. And so you're dead to them. So I could go on and on about how to work with recruiters. And we actually have a few different recruiters we've done these sessions with. You can see them out on our YouTube channel. Lourdes, if you could share the YouTube channel with everyone, just make sure that they can get out to see some of our recruiter videos where we ask recruiters, how do we work with you? We've got those resources out there. But what we've just done is opened up a different area for Shelby to be looking, so that she gets in front of some of those hidden opportunities that aren't posted in LinkedIn. As I opened the conversation today, we were talking about how LinkedIn and Glassdoor and Indeed can be very expensive for organizations to post jobs in. And so something I recommend everyone does, and when we're working with the clients, this is our first step also, is to show them how to leverage good old Google. So let me go back out here, and I want to show you how this has changed. I don't know if you've used Google for your job search before, but we're going to give it a go right now. So we are going to what are we going to do? We're going to look for clinic manager jobs, Minneapolis, St. Paul on site. Okay. Now, I've put in these specific words. The most specific word that is most important here is the word jobs. Okay. Because when I hit enter, on this across the top, you can see I get AI mode, all jobs, images, forums, shopping, news, blah, blah, blah. I want you to see this jobs one. So this is different than maybe you've seen it before. Because if you just scroll down here, you don't see very much. Okay. What I want you to do is hit the jobs tab. And then in here, we've got a whole bunch of things that may not be posted. Okay. Nursing home supervisor at Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare. So these are some of the jobs that are out there right now. And you can also filter things. So let's take off the word on site and see if more jobs come up. Okay, so there's more. So these are maybe hybrid or maybe they're remote. Um, there's a lot of opportunities out here that you may not see if you're just looking on Indeed or on LinkedIn. So let's take a look here. I'm not familiar with Benedictine. I'm just going to click on this one. It says it needs an RN, and I don't think you're an RN, Shelby, from what I heard when we were talking. But I'm just going to show you with this. So you can see over here the job description, blah, 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 blah. Now, I want you to notice, let me move my face over. Okay. I wanted to make this bigger. How do I make this bigger? You know how, so I'll just do it this way. You see how it says apply on intently care? Don't. What I would do is I would go to Benedictine, okay? So let me open a new browser for Benedictine Shakopee. Okay, Benedictine Living, Shakopee. So I would want to go right out to the actual company's website for a couple reasons. One, it may be a job that's not actually listed any longer, or it may be just you want to apply through the company's webpage if you can. So compliance programs, usually they would have careers. Usually they have a career. Oh, here, duh, it's a giant button. So they have a careers page. So you can see then what's actually open right now. And see if it's something you want to apply to and then apply right through here. But what we've done by using Google to do this is we've surfaced more jobs than you're going to find just on Indeed or on LinkedIn, because again, these companies don't have to pay for the listing when they're out there. So I know we're at time here. I hope this has been helpful. Shelby, I want to thank you for volunteering to come out and talk about what's going on. We really appreciate that. And if anyone's looking to understand more about how to use AI or how your resume might be performing in the world of AI or how to do your search, please go ahead and book a free resume review with us. We'd be happy to take a look at your materials and talk to you about ways you could improve upon that. So please do that. Stay in touch with us. Thanks so much. I hope this has been helpful, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care.